Welcome to qnawire.
All right, in question 91, we are told for part A that we have a Cr3 plus solution and it's electrolyzed using a current of 7.60 amps. What mass of chromium is plated out after 2.00 days? So I am going to start with my time. There's a couple options here, but I'm going to start with my time. One thing to keep in mind is amps are equal to coulombs per second. That'll help us out because that's going to be connected with our time here. So I'm going to start with my days here. And I always set my problems up on what I call train tracks, but essentially it's a bunch of fractions multiplied together. So I'm starting with 2 days. And I want to get days to seconds because that's going to be able to cancel out my amps here. So I'm going to say that for every 1 day, I want to cancel days, so I'm going to put them on the bottom, and I'm going to go to hours first. There's 24 hours. And then I can go from hours to seconds by saying for every 1 hour, there are 3,600 seconds. So hours cancel each other. Now we have seconds. And now I can use the amps and say that there's 7.60 coulombs. So I'm going to break that amp down into coulombs per second because now my seconds cancel and now I have coulombs. And coulombs is our connection to get from amps over to mass or of a substance because we can use Faraday's constant. So now I can say that 96,485 coulombs per mole of electrons. So that's our connection between the amps and the substance. Okay, so now coulombs cancel. Now I have moles of electrons. And since this is 3 plus, if I'm plating this out, it's going to be going to Cr, and that's a 3 electron transfer there. So I can say that there are 3 moles of electrons for every 1 mole of chromium formed, right? So moles of electrons cancel. Now I have chromium, and now I can get to mass. I can say that for every 1 mole of chromium, there are 52 grams of chromium. That's the molar mass of it. So moles cancel. And then you just plug all that in your calculator. Start with the 2, multiply by numbers on the top, divide by numbers on the bottom. I'm rounding to 3 sig figs, and I get 236 grams of chromium can be plated in those 2 days. In question B, they say what amperage is required to plate out. So I want to plate out 0.250 moles of chromium. So essentially we're going backwards on this problem from Cr3 plus again. And I want to do that in an 8-hour period. So this time I still have the time, but instead of finding the mass, I want to find the amps. So really, again, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for coulombs per second. That's going to be my amperage. So in this case, I'm going to start with the 0.25, the amount that I'm trying to make moles of chromium. And again, I'm going to go to electrons because that's going to then get me to my Faraday's constant being my connection to coulombs there. So I'm going to say for every 1 mole of chromium, it's going to be 3 moles of electrons because of that charge there. So moles of chromium cancel. Now I have moles of electrons, and now I can use Faraday's constant. This time it's going to go on top, 485, because I'm trying to cancel out moles of electrons. So those go on the bottom there. So now I have coulombs, and I want amps. So I have the top part. I just need the bottom part. So I need to divide by seconds. And so right now I have hours. So I'm going to divide by the hours, and then I'm just going to convert those hours over to seconds. So now I can say for every 1 hour, there are 3,600 seconds. That cancels. Now I have coulombs per second, which is amps. And I plug that all in my calculator, and I get 2.51 coulombs per second, which is 2.51 amps.